Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello and welcome. So we are in 2024 now, and I want to talk about some of the gigs that I went to in 2023 because music is a big part of my life, and I actually went to 10 gigs in 2023. Can we actually believe it? Because I had not been to that many gigs in 1 year since before COVID. When I was in uni and in college, I would literally go to a gig every other week, and I felt like, obviously there were like, times have changed, we know that, we don't really need to kind of say that out loud, but even before then I was going to gigs so frequently it would be like the most insane thing. But over the past few years I've been slowly going to more gigs because, you know, I just love live music. It's such a big part of my life, and it's what gives me happiness and endorphins and just me being myself at that time. But yeah, I'm going to discuss all the 10 bands that I went to see and just my opinion and take on them, and I'm going to do my makeup at the same time. I'm not going to really talk about the products that I'm using because that's just, it's going to take much longer than necessary. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this type of video. Let me know if you want me to do anything else like in this style, like any movies you want me to talk about and things like that, because I don't talk about enough of my geekness on my channel as much as I used to. But yeah, let's kind of get started. So I mean, 2023 has been, like I mentioned, like a big year for me going to gigs and seeing some of my favorite bands and some bands that I discovered that I was happy enough to like see. So the first band that I went to see was a band called Brian's Jonetown Massacre. So they're a band that I discovered in 2022 just randomly on Spotify, because I'd heard one of their songs like a long time ago, but they've been around since the 80s, I believe, and they're known to be quite like a problematic band. Like, a lot of the bandmates are just not the nicest of people, or they got like really big personalities, which I guess you have to have these days in a band. But yeah, I saw them at the Kentish Town Forum, which is one of my favorite venues in London. It is really a venue where whoever's playing there, I'm just so happy, because that venue I think is perfect. I go and see a lot of like heavy metal bands there because I think that type of venue is perfect for that genre. But Brian Jonetown Massacre are like an indie band, so it's a bit more psychedelic than what I normally listen to. And I took my husband along and I had an amazing time, obviously, because I was just so happy to see them. It was completely sold out because I don't think they had played London in quite a long time. And I don't know if that this was quite this is quite funny. So a few months ago, I think it was a few months ago or less than like a month ago, the band were touring Australia and they ended up having a fight on the stage. And I know that's not funny because it was quite a serious issue, but I'm so glad that they didn't do that when I went to see them, because they are a band that, like I mentioned, they're quite a problematic band in themselves. But I think it's mainly the guitarist and the singer just had major issues with each other. I think the singer he's well known to be a bit of an arsehole, to be honest, and I think he says himself that he thinks he is or whatever. But I think the guitarist just had enough and just started to fight them on stage. And there are videos online that you can watch. I'm not going to upload it or anything because it's just something I don't need to add on. But yeah, I'm really happy that I got to see them. They're a band that I listen to constantly still, because their music for me is just so easy to listen to. It's quite a calming like music, and I can say that some of their music does sound similar like to the last songs, but I feel like as a band they were really great live. They were not engaging with the audience, but to be honest, that's the type of band that they are. But I think they played really, really well. They played a lot of the songs that I liked, and I just really enjoyed the gig as a whole. So next I went to a gig that was completely the other end of that spectrum. I went to see Lamb of God, who are one of my favorite like heavy metal bands. I think this was like the 5th or 6th time that I've seen them now, and I saw them at Wembley, the OVO, which is like the small one, not stadium. But when I saw them, I had just like, I'd say a couple of days prior, had minor surgery on my back, so thankfully I was sitting down because I actually got to go to a booth where I work. So they they rent out booths for these locations, and I was lucky enough to get a ticket, so I was able to sit down. And for me, when I'm at a gig, I like to move around, but because my back was in agony, I was kind of taking small jumps, and I was, well, not jumps, but I was kind of like trying to enjoy it as much as I can, because I love Lamb of God. They are a band that I have enjoyed since like 2008. They've just been a band that I constantly listen to. I try to see them as often as I can when they come to London, and when I saw they were playing Wembley, I don't live too far from that area as well, so for me to get home was amazing. I got home in like less than 20 minutes because my bus literally takes me to where I live. Oh, I didn't know that had a rattle in there. But yeah, I felt like that was probably a gig where, you know, like I said, where you feel most alive. That gig was amazing. I had obviously had taken a couple of paracetamols to help my back, but it was honestly just one of the best gigs I've been to that year, because they had like not explosions, but they had like fireworks, and they had fire and just constant loud like noises, which is what I would expect in a band like them, because they're just like, Vandy, the singer, is just full of so much energy, and the band just know how to like knock it out of the park. I then went to see another one of my favourite bands called Cannibal Corpse. So they were playing at the Kentish Town Forum, and like I mentioned, that is a venue that I absolutely love going to, and they were being supported by Dark Funeral, who, if you don't know who any of these bands are, of course you're going to be slightly confused, but Dark Funeral are essentially a black metal band, and Cannibal Corpse are like a death metal band, and they are just, I can't even explain. Like, if you have heard of them, then obviously you are you know, we could be friends, but I feel like their music is obviously catered to those who listen to that genre. Like, you can never understand what he's saying because he's growling. That's the type of music that they play, but they are just amazing. It's the second time that I'm seeing them live. The first time I saw them was at the Kentish Town Forum, but this was about 5 years ago. But honestly, seeing Dark Funeral supporting them as well was amazing, because I love Dark Funeral. I saw them, God, it must have been about 13-14 years ago at the Underworld, where I first saw Akikoki, and that was again a gig that I absolutely love, and I love going to the Underworld. Sadly, I've not been to the Underworld this year, because there just wasn't anything that I wanted to see, anyone that I wanted to see there. But Cannibal Corpse just always put on the most amazing show. They bring so much kind of, like, when you think of the music and the genre, it's not obviously happy music, it's not fun music, but the way that they kind of are as a band just bring, yeah, I absolutely love it. And I hope they tour again London like next year. I don't think they will, but you know, bands obviously when they tour the world, and I don't think they're touring at the moment, because I obviously, when I'm filming this is Christmas, but I'm just kind of thinking, because they come out with an album last year, and obviously bands tour when albums come out, so I don't think they'll be touring next year, but we shall hope. But yeah, Dark Funeral and Cannibal Corpse were absolutely amazing. So the next gig I went to was to see Roger Waters. Now, when I talk about my favourite bands, Pink Floyd is one of my favourite bands ever. Like, they are, like, I'm big, my favourite genre is essentially classic rock, but when I talk about Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, they are the ones that are my genre, are my favourite bands. And I know Roger Waters during the time had a lot of kind of controversy. Well, he always has controversies around him, but at the time it was quite high up, where people were trying to get him to, you know, cancel his tour and cancel everything. But he is obviously, like, if you know his music and you know him as a person, you will know this man does not back down from anything. And the fact that he was playing the UK, which is obviously where Pink Floyd are from, the fact that he was playing O2, the stage was absolutely insane. I have saved pictures from each gig that I will put on here as well. But the fact that he was, obviously, because he's quite a political voice, and even in their music, a lot of people say, oh, why do bands talk about politics? Well, to be honest, a lot of them have a right to do so, even though it might not be the same politics that you are agreeing with. But at the time, I was actually really happy that he didn't cancel that gig, because I was just very fortunate to go. I had my friend who had gotten me a ticket, and she came along with me, and I felt like seeing him live, because I had not seen any of the Pink Floyd guys live. I've not even seen Dave Gilmour live, which I would love to, but every time he tours, his tickets are so expensive, because he is obviously quite a prolific person in the music industry. But seeing Roger Waters and his stage and the songs that he was playing just bring me so much joy. Like, again, Pink Floyd are one of my favourite bands, and to see their music live is just like a kind of dream come true, and I was so happy. And even though there was all this controversy and issues around everything, I still feel like he did an amazing show, and he was still very vocal about all his feelings and all like this. And I don't feel like, I mean, in his, you know, in his tours and his gigs, they are a lot of political and a lot of ideology around politics, which if you're not into that, then obviously going to his gig would not be up your street, because it's very heavy on all of that. But listening to the music, seeing him, and just him talking about just things in general was amazing to see. So it was definitely once in a lifetime kind of experience, because when you listen to Pink Floyd and when you listen to like the music, it is very like out of this world, psychedelic and crazy. And to see that in a concert with music that I've been growing up on and listening to most of my life, it was just insane. So now we're going on to the next gig. I've got my notes here because there's no way that I would have remembered every band that I saw this year. Next I saw Kiss, and I saw them at the O2 as well. This is the second time that I've seen them, and oh my god, they know how to put on a show. And again, this is their end of the road tour, even though I'm pretty sure now this is the last gig and last kind of tour that they're ever doing. And I know that it's finished because I actually watched their kind of Madison Square Garden gig. Someone had uploaded it to YouTube, so I watched it. There's no way that I'm giving them like $40 or £40 to watch something that's I've already seen, because it was literally the same set. It was the same set that they had played the last time I saw them, and then this time I saw them, it was the same thing. And they do the same kind of like the same tour kind of thing. So they still get Paul Stanley to go across the stage while they play Love Gun, and then they do so many other things like Gene Simmons singing God of Thunder, which is one of my favourite Kiss songs. And he goes up on the podium and spits out fire and spits out blood and this and that. So that's like their normal things that they do. I was a bit disappointed that they played the same songs, but I feel that they're a band that you know what to expect, but they always put on so much. It's so fun. Like, honestly, if you have seen Kiss before, let me know what your experience was, because I feel that they put on such an entertaining show. And the fact that they're probably not the best singers anymore, but their stage presence is amazing. And if you get a chance to watch their kind of Madison Square Garden gig, it's on YouTube, so it's not like I illegally uploaded it or downloaded it or whatever. But if you get a chance to watch it and you really want to see like what Kiss are like as a band, I highly recommend watching it, because it is a lot of fun. And even though, again, they're not what they used to be like 20-30 years ago, but they're men in their 60s, so they're not exactly spring chickens. But one thing that did stand out to me the most, which was probably, I wouldn't say the highlight, but like an out of body moment, I actually got to see Jimmy Page sitting in the audience. So if you don't know who he is the guitarist of my favourite band ever, Led Zeppelin, and Paul Stanley is a big Led Zeppelin fan, and he is a big fan of Jimmy Page. And I think they probably invited him to come to the show, and he was there with his girlfriend Scarlett. And I actually was, so where I was sitting was closer to the stage, and where he was sitting was by the audio booth. So I didn't see him throughout like 2/3 of the gig, and I think towards the end I saw him sitting there. And when so when I tell you I was just shocked, and all I could think about was him. That's how much I love Led Zeppelin. I think when people think of me, a lot of times they think about Led Zeppelin because all I do is talk about them all the time. But yeah, as soon as I saw him, I just had this outer body experience where I was like, I actually cannot think about anything else now apart from knowing that he is sitting right there. And I have seen him in the flesh before, because I went to this book reading that his girlfriend done. She's a poet and she reads out her poetry quite frequently, but I knew that Jimmy was going to be there, so I went. This was literally as COVID was kind of happening, and I actually got to meet him and shake his hand, and I was trying to like not scream, because you know, when you meet your heroes, you meet your heroes. But he is honestly one of the nicest guys that I've ever met, and I'm so happy that I got a good experience when I met him, because the last thing you want to do is for you to realize that he's a massive arsehole. But thankfully he wasn't. But yeah, he was at the gig, and the next day I actually saw on Paul Stanley's Instagram that he had a picture with Jimmy Page saying, we were on stage, but Jimmy is the giant, and all that stuff like that, which I thought was so cute and awesome, because again, being a big fan of a musician and actually them being there is just out of this world experience. But again, we're sticking with the O2, and the next gig I went to was to see Elton John. So we've seen a lot of oldies this year, and it was mainly because one of my closest friends, who I have mentioned before, is such a big Elton John fan, that she asked if I wanted to come along, and I was like, absolutely, because this is his last tour. Like, he is in his 70s, or he must be older. And I did watch him on Glastonbury as well, which was amazing. It was almost the same set, but anyway, seeing someone live is just the most amazing experience. But we got to see him, and he is just an entertainer, like so much fun, always engaging with the audience, and always just like playing obviously his greatest hits. So I felt like this tour was obviously for him to say goodbye, and he played quite a few nights, but we had seen him on his last London date, which I felt was freaking just something special, because for someone of his stature and for someone with his career, just kind of finishing his London date in such a big venue was really, really special. And like I mentioned, I watched his Glastonbury, which I think was his last kind of like UK date. I could be wrong, but I think I might be right, I don't know. But yeah, he played all his hits, and he even played Candle in the Wind, which I would never have thought that he would play that live. But yeah, I just, like, me and my friend, we had an amazing time. She had seen him I think once or twice before, and this was my first time seeing him. So yeah, he's again such an entertainer, and I think you can watch one of his gigs on Disney Plus, I think at the bowl, like I can't remember, it's called like baseball field or whatever, the Dodger Stadium, that's it. Yeah, so I think you can watch it there, and I'm pretty sure most of that is going to be the same set list. But yeah, it was amazing seeing him, because again, someone of his age being constantly active and just walking around the stage and on his piano and his amazing band, it was truly a special experience. So next we're talking about one of my favorite guys of all time, Bruce Springsteen. I saw him and the E Street Band for the third time at Hyde Park. So I am a big Bruce Springsteen fan, and I was super happy to get the ticket because it was in Hyde Park and it had sold out. But my friend kindly sent me a link to like the pre-sale, and I think I got it on, yeah, the ticket was like 100 quid. So I've definitely spent a lot of money this year on gigs, even though some of them I was lucky enough to not need to pay for, so that was pretty damn awesome. But I saw him, and he had quite a few support acts, and nothing really stood out because I was there to see him. And I had met up with my friend because he is a massive Bruce fan, and I had such a great time. Like, when I tell you Bruce puts on a show, they go for like 3+ hours, and because over the years I've grown more and more with his catalogue, because obviously when I first started listening to him, I started listening to like the greatest hits, but now I listen to like his albums religiously, like on my Spotify. It's constantly just listening to his music, and I felt like the sets that he was playing this year was just, it was amazing. I know he's playing in 2024, and I don't know if I want to go because it's at Wembley Stadium, which is fair enough, which is not my favourite venue, but I feel like it's still quite interesting to go. But I don't know, I think it's sold out. So if it is sold out, I can't go anyway. But I don't know, I'm intrigued to see what his set list might be like, because he used to do like, say people would recommend a song, but now it just seems like they just kind of have their set list and they just play, which is still fine because the set list is so much fun. Like, he still plays his obviously like greatest hits and stuff, but there's always a couple of songs here and there that I'm really just happy to hear, because they're just, I wouldn't expect them to play them. So next we go and see one of my favorite bands called Death Star. So they are like an industrial metal band that I have not seen in like 9 years, and I used to see them quite a lot in my college years because they would come down to London a lot, and I would go and stand in the queue for like 10 hours to go and see them, and they all would always like recognize me and stuff. But then I think what had happened, either I stopped listening to them or they just didn't tour as much, and obviously when they had come down I was like, I need to go and see them. And so I saw them at the Scala in King's Cross, and it was such a great gig because I took my husband as well, and this was like the first time him seeing them, or kind of like listening to them as well, and I think he enjoyed himself. I'm not too sure, but yeah, they're just a band that I have loved since I was so young. The first time I saw them was seeing Cradle of Filth at the Astoria. I'm so old, I know. But yeah, the Astoria, I freaking miss that venue so much. I don't care about the Elizabeth line, I want my music venue back. But yeah, anyway, seeing Death Stars was so much fun. They sound just like they did all those years ago, and I had a great time, especially in small venues. I love saying that seeing bands in small venues just makes it a lot more special. And then the last two bands I went to see, so I went to see Queens of the Stone Age finally. Last year, like 2022 was a year that I just absolutely obsessed over Queens of Stone Age. I don't know what it was. I think because I've been listening to them a lot since I was younger, and then I just got this epiphany of just wanting to listen to them, and all I did was listen to them non-stop throughout 2022. And then when I saw that they had a new album and that they were touring, I got a ticket straight away, and it was the day before my birthday. So I had got there with my husband and we watched obviously at least 2/3 of it, and I was like, we need to go home because the next day was my birthday. But I had an interview that day, and I was kind of like, I should really just like go home a bit earlier and go to bed and stuff. But the set that they had, what I had seen, was amazing. They played most of was the album like Clockwork, which I absolutely love because they had so many songs from that album, of course a lot of their older songs. But yeah, I had a really great time. I love seeing Josh live on stage because he is a beautiful ginger man. I'm just gonna put on my lipstick and then we'll talk about the last gig that I went to in 2023. Okay, so the last gig that I went to in 2023 was to see The Prodigy. Oh my god. So again, with my friend who I've been going to quite a few gigs with this year, she is a massive fan of The Prodigy, and she asked me if I wanted to go, and we went to see them at Alexandra Palace. And oh my god, I was kind of like shitting myself because I didn't know what to expect, because they are a dance band, like a dance metal band. Now I guess they're very influenced by like heavy like guitars and stuff like that, which is amazing. But I was shitting myself because she was like, do you want to go near the front? And I was like, I don't want to die. I want to see the end of this year. But you know what, people were really nice, really kind of like, they were kind of accepting of people's space. So when you kind of think of these type of gigs, you think people are like moshing and jumping on each other and this and that. I felt like on the sides of the stage there was nothing like that. I felt like where we were kind of on the right hand side, almost literally at the front, but on the side, so it wasn't as kind of busy, but I still had like the most amazing time. I've been listening to him since I was like since the 90s, but I haven't been like a hardcore fan. So the fact that I would go and listen to some of this music live, and they had a nice tribute to Keith as well, obviously, like rest in peace, and like just a lot of the music that they was just like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm listening to this live, because again, I have like their greatest hits and a couple of things that I've been listening to most of my life, and I just had like the most amazing time, and it was such a great way to end my year of like gigs. But yeah, that was my kind of throwback wrap of all the bands that I've seen this year. I can't wait for 2024 because I've already got 2 gigs that I'm going to. I'm going to see Foo Fighters, and I'm going to a day festival called Incineration Festival, which is like a black metal festival, which I'm so excited for because there's quite a few bands that I'm looking forward to see, because I went a few years ago and saw my favorite band Emperor there, my favorite black metal band Emperor, and that was a great day because it was all in Camden, and it was just like a couple of places and you could just go in and out with your wristband. It was amazing. So I bought my ticket for that. I'm so freaking excited, and let me know what gigs you've been to this year, what's been your highlight, who you're seeing next year, because I always want to hear what people are going to, because it must be such different spectrum than what I listened to, obviously, because by looking at my list I've gone to various different genres, and that's just me in general. I love listening to such a quiet, like weird style of music. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this style of video. Let me know again if you want me to do anything different, or do anything similar in the future, and please don't forget to like and subscribe, because I film and upload every time I get a chance to. Don't forget to follow me on any of my social medias because I'm always active on there. Let me know what you think of my makeup look, and I will hopefully see you soon, guys. Bye bye.